between the third and fourth syringe, a person stops looking like themselves and starts looking like everyone else. And most of them never even notice it happening. Let me start with something that might sound a little harsh, but is completely true. There is a specific face spreading through Hollywood right now. High, pillowy cheekbones, a suspiciously smooth forehead, a jawline that looks almost architectural, lips that seem slightly too large for the face they belong to, and eyes that are just a little too open, like someone is perpetually surprised. You have seen it. You know exactly what face I am talking about. And here is the wild part. This face is showing up on people who probably spent a lot of money trying to look uniquely beautiful. So what is actually happening? Why do people who have access to the best cosmetic doctors in the world all end up looking vaguely like the same person? The answer involves psychology, economics, social media, and a procedure that most people do not fully understand. Let us talk about fillers first, because they are the engine driving all of this. Dermal fillers, most commonly made from hyaluronic acid, are injectable substances that add volume to specific areas of the face. They are not permanent. They are not surgery. They are relatively quick to administer, and they have become enormously popular over the last decade or so. The appeal is obvious. You walk in, you get a few injections, and you walk out looking refreshed. No scalpels, no recovery time, no dramatic before and after that screams cosmetic procedure. But here is where things get interesting. Fillers do not stay where they are put. Over time, the filler migrates. It spreads slightly beyond its intended area. And if you keep adding more filler on top of existing filler that has moved, you end up with something called filler fatigue, where the face starts looking heavier and puffier in ways that are difficult to pinpoint but immediately noticeable. The face loses its natural shadows and contours. Everything starts to look a little inflated, a little flat, a little wrong in a way that is hard to articulate. Now layer on top of that the psychology of incremental change. When you see your own face every single day, small changes become invisible to you. You do not notice when things have shifted slightly because each step is so subtle. Before long, you have drifted far from where you started, but you do not feel like you have because no single appointment felt dramatic. This is called the boiling frog effect in psychology, and it applies perfectly to cosmetic procedures. But why does everyone end up looking the same? This is where social media becomes the villain of the story. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have created a global beauty standard that is simultaneously more diverse in some ways and devastatingly narrow in others. Filters designed to make you look more attractive tend to do specific things. They slim the nose, they enlarge the eyes, they smooth the skin, they add volume to the lips and cheeks. And when people bring these filtered selfies to their cosmetic practitioners and say they want to look like this, practitioners are essentially chasing the same digital template every single time. There is actually a documented phenomenon called Snapchat dysmorphia, which was coined by medical professionals to describe patients who come in wanting to look like their filtered photos. This is not a small number of people. This is a widespread pattern that has fundamentally changed what people request in cosmetic offices around the world. And practitioners respond to demand. If 90% of your clients are asking for more cheekbone volume, fuller lips, and a lifted brow, you develop expertise in delivering exactly that. The entire cosmetic industry ends up optimizing around the same set of requests, which produces the same set of results, which then get photographed, posted, and admired online, which inspires more people to want the same look. It is a feedback loop that essentially manufactures a monoculture of faces. There is also an economic dimension that rarely gets discussed. High-end cosmetic procedures have trickled down in price and availability over the years. What was once accessible only to the very wealthy is now available at med spa chains in strip malls across the country. This democratization sounds positive on the surface, But it also means that less experienced practitioners are performing procedures on more people. And the safest, most marketable results tend to be the boldest ones. Subtle work is harder to sell. Dramatic results generate before and after content that drives business. So the incentives push toward more, not less. Here is the emotional piece that I think gets overlooked the most. The people getting these procedures are not responding to real social pressure in a world where their appearance is scrutinized more intensely than at any previous point in human history. If you are a celebrity, your face is on screens that are 6 feet tall. Every pore is examined. Every expression is analyzed. The pressure to look a certain way is not vanity. It is survival in an industry that is genuinely brutal about appearance. And yet, the solution being offered, more filler, more volume, more structural alteration, is often the thing that ultimately makes people look worse. Not because the procedures are bad in every case, but because the cumulative effect of chasing an ideal that keeps moving is a face that looks less like yourself and more like everyone else who is chasing the same thing. Some practitioners are pushing back against this trend in really meaningful ways. There is a growing movement in cosmetic medicine around restoration rather than augmentation. Instead of adding volume to create a new look, the philosophy is about restoring what someone actually looked like when they were younger. This tends to produce results that are almost invisible because the person looks like themselves, just a slightly earlier version. Paradoxically, this kind of subtle work is harder to market because there is no dramatic transformation to post about. The platforms themselves bear real responsibility here. When an algorithm rewards content that generates strong emotional reactions, and when heavily altered faces generate curiosity and clicks, the system is actively incentivizing the kind of aesthetic that feeds this cycle. The algorithm does not care whether the beauty standard it promotes is attainable or even desirable in real life. It cares about engagement. What I find genuinely fascinating about all of this is that it represents something completely new in human history. We have always had beauty standards. We have always had social pressure to conform to them. But never before have those standards been enforced through real-time algorithmic feedback at this scale and speed. The beauty ideal is not something that shifts over decades anymore. It shifts over months, and procedures that seemed cutting-edge 2 years ago now look dated. So where does this leave us? I think it leaves us in a moment of genuine reckoning. More people are beginning to notice the sameness. More people are questioning whether the look that was being sold to them as aspirational actually appeals to them at all. Celebrities who have dissolved their filler and returned to more natural appearances have often been met with enormous positive responses, which suggests that audiences were never really attached to the overfilled aesthetic in the first place. The face you were born with, shaped by your genetics and your lived experience, is genuinely interesting. The erasing of that individuality in pursuit of a digitally mediated ideal is not beauty. It is something closer to the opposite of it. And I think on some level, most of us already know that. We feel it every time we scroll and cannot tell who we are looking at. If you found this interesting, share it with someone who has been thinking about this too. And let me know in the comments. Do you think this trend is already reversing? Or does it still have further to run?